Hi everyone. Welcome to today's session, which is on targeting a top percentile in the quant section. So, as you'll know, I am a CAT 100 percentiler, and today's session will be all about how each and every one of you can target a top percentile around the 100 percentile mark in the quant section. So quants is one of the most scoring sections, a section where people can score as high as a perfect 102 out of 102, which translates to a perfect score. Talking of perfect score, that is where we've launched what is the most important course for CAT 2020, that is the Perfect Score batch on Unacademy Plus. This Perfect Score batch comprises of sessions by CAT toppers, 100 percentilers like me, and other top educators in Academy Plus. It's a special batch which covers all the three sections, VRC, DLR and Quants, where specifically for Quants, you'll be getting handholded towards your perfect score along with the other sections. To be a part of this batch, all you need to do is use the discount code Nilanjan Dutta while subscribing to Unacademy Plus so that you're automatically added to the perfect score batch, which is going to help you move towards the target 100 percentile in quants. So the perfect score batch, as you can see, it starts on 14th of March. It just got started last weekend and we're continuing all the way till 16th November, that is mid-November, which is around 8 months from today. So do not delay any further. It just been 1 week we've started. Make sure that you're immediately enrolling and subscribing to Unacademy Plus to be a part of the Perfect Score batch for CAT 2020. You've got to be part of either the 12-month or the 24-month subscription plan. The 24-month subscription plan is presently available at 75% off. So the price is almost half of the 12-month subscription plan. So opt for the 24-month subscription plan ideally, if not the 12-month plan. Irrespective of which one you go for, if you use the discount code Nilanjan Dutta while subscribing, there's no space for Nilanjan and Dutta, you'll get the subscription at an even more discounted price. So immediately this weekend itself, make sure all of you subscribe to the Perfect Score batch and use the discount code Nilanjan Dutta while subscribing. No space for Nilanjan and Dutta. In fact, this code will enable you to immediately get subscribed to the Perfect Score batch, as well as get a discount while subscribing. This is what you do immediately, because remember, once you subscribe to Unacademy Plus, you get access to all the live classes for all the top educators in Unacademy Plus at one go, along with test series and mentorship by top educators on Unacademy Plus. So how do you get a discount code? You select the 12-month or the 24-month subscription plan. Here in the referral code section, you're going to enter the code Nilanjan Dutta. There's a space for Nilanjan and Dutta. It doesn't matter whether you type in capitals or in small letters. Once you click on apply, it'll say apply successfully. The price is reduced and you can check out. The moment you subscribe, you get added to all the batch courses where I am teaching, including the Perfect Score batch for CAT 2020. So all those who are having any kind of difficulty regarding using the code or something, you can reach out to me. So now let's get started with what exactly you need to do to move towards the target 100 percentile mark in quants. And the first thing we look at is what are the books that you could probably be referring to. Talking of books, the best two books for quants would be Arun Sharma, which is the McGraw-Hill education book, as well as Quantum CAT by Sarvesh Verma. For those of you a little weak in quants, I would say Arun Sharma would be a better book to go for. Those of you who are already done with attempting quants in the last couple of years of CAT and already at the 95 plus percentile mark, they could probably look at Sarvesh Verma as the go-to book. In Arun Sharma for quants, I would say only restrict yourself to LOD1 and LOD2. LOD3 isn't really important as far as CAT is concerned, because that difficulty level questions do not usually appear in CAT. So it's more of LOD1 and 2 questions. Sarvesh Verma, definitely the book that you can look at as well. For those of you who did not have maths in 11-12, it would be a wise idea to take a couple of months out, 2 months out, and revise class 9 to 12 maths from NCRT or your 9 to 12 boards books, because that will help you just make sure that you recap everything before you're starting with CAT Quants, because most of the syllabus for CAT Quants is similar to what you studied in class 9 to 12, only maybe it's an MCQ based paper, so that orientation is required. So this is what you can look at as far as the books are concerned for Quants. The next thing that comes in, and which is a very important thing for every CAT aspirant, is what are the habits that you're building on for Quants on a day-to-day basis. And talking of habits, one of the most important habits is doing calculations fast. And that should happen across your day-to-day life activities. The moment you're doing more calculation on a regular basis and faster, automatically your ability to do computations in the actual CAT exam increase. The other thing is solving more of Sudokus and numbers based puzzles. So they come in the daily newspaper, which is something that you can refer to just to make sure that your ability to play around with numbers is in place. The next thing is, and this is very important, something that I emphasize a lot as part of all my Quants courses, including the Perfect Score batch. That is understanding concepts and not relying blindly on formulas. But what happens is there's so many formulas and theorems that you need to remember that actually when it comes to the exam, you don't exactly know which formula applies when, which formula doesn't apply when, and so on. And people tend to make mistakes in the process. Also, remembering all the formulas and knowing which one to apply in which question may also be a challenge. So it's always better to go bottom up, understand the approach, understand the concept, understand what the question is asking, and then start from the basics with knowing only a few basic formulas in place. The next thing is, what do you do as far as Quants is concerned, as far as day-to-day practice is concerned? On a daily basis, what you need to look at is minimum 10, preferably 10 to 15 Quants questions daily from a given Quants topic. So you're referring to a particular book, and let's say you picked up ratio and proportions. So let's say in the book there are 75 questions. So obviously you cannot do all 75. So what you do is, since you got to the 15 questions, you select questions at intervals of 5, like 1, 6, 11, 16, and so on, up to 71. Just do these 15 questions for on day 1. On day 2, maybe you do questions like 4, 9, 14, 19, and so on, up to 74. So basically across 2 days, you're done with 30 questions in that topic, and that is across the spectrum of that topic, which is more than enough as far as Quants is concerned. Along with that, on weekends, you need to look at around 15 miscellaneous topics, Quants, because so just to ensure that whatever you're studying in the week, you're remembering that during the weekends. So in the weekends, the best thing that you can do is pick up some past year mocks, and from those past year mocks, you pick up 15 questions that you want to do during the weekend. That is spread across every area of Quants. So basically it's like half a Quants section. The Quants section comprises of 34 questions, so half of that is 17, so maybe around half of the questions. And do not just select questions, just do maybe 1 to 17 or 18 to 34 and so on, so that you get a random mix of questions across areas. Also, it's very important that when you're practicing questions, you practice an average of 2 minutes per question approach, because remember, in CAT, all Unacademy Plus students are expected to attempt at least 30 questions in CAT in the 1 hour mark, which automatically means the average time per question should be greater than 2 minutes per question. So make sure you're understanding how to do those such questions and so on. That which is why you need to analyze the solution and options well, so you know how to make sure that the shortcuts click to you in the immediate minute and not, it doesn't take 10-15 minutes to recognize. So, talking about what I emphasize in my Quants Live classes, including the Perfect Score batch. So, the way I believe is look at the concept plus practice classes, and they start right from the basics. Since it's an 8-month course, it's important that you start right from the basics. That every CAT aspirant, even those who did not have maybe maths in the last 4-5 years, they can also come up to speed. But as you move towards CAT across the 8-month period, you've got to, towards the end, you've got to move towards doing challenger questions as well, which could be the difference between a 99 percentiler and a 100 percentiler. And that is where getting mentored personally by CAT 100 percentiler is so very critical, for which all you need to do is make sure that you subscribe to Unacademy Plus and use the discount code Nilanjan Dutta while subscribing. This will enable that you're getting mentored personally by me, a CAT 100 percentiler. Special emphasis is to be done on multiple concepts based quants. So what is meant by multiple concept based quants? So often in quants what happens is they might mix a question on ratio and proportion with maybe a PNC question. And that is where it's important that you're able to combine the two concepts and still be able to solve the question. Because most of us, when you go topic wise, what happens is we are only used to doing only ratio proportions or only PNC. We aren't used to combining questions which involve a time speed distance concept with a geometry concept. But that is where the challenge lies as far as D-Day is concerned, when the syllabus is not defined to a particular topic but across the spectrum of quants. How each and every one of you can move towards the 100 percentile mark in quants, including attempting questions from previous year papers and important quants questions. All of that comes as part of the Perfect Score batch. So just make sure that you're attending each and every session live as part of the Perfect Score batch. Choosing quants questions wisely. How do you understand that which quants questions can be solved in 2 minutes? Which quants questions can be solved using 30-second approaches, 1-minute approaches, and so on? How do you attempt questions in the 30-second approaches is something that we'll be putting a lot of emphasis upon. How to use the options wisely, how to do smart guessing, and so on. Spotting sitters is another very important thing, all of which will come as part of the Quants Live classes and Unacademy Plus, just to make sure that Quants becomes a position of strength for each and every one of you. So all you need to do is be a part of this special batch, that is the Perfect Score batch for CAT 2020. We'll be covering all the 3 sections, VRC, DIR, and quants. But specifically you get handheld by me, a CAT 100 percentiler, to help you all achieve the perfect score dreams that most of you have as well. It's an 8-month long course, so a lot of time for each and every one of you to improve starting now, but make sure that you're subscribed to either the 12-month or the 24-month subscription plan. 24-month preferably, given that it's much cheaper and it's 75% off, plus you get further additional discounts. We use the discount code Nilanjan Dutta while subscribing. So do that immediately this weekend. Do not miss out any further sessions. The timing of the sessions are very conducive for each and every CAT aspirant to be able to attend. Just remember, when you're subscribing, in the referral code section, you need to enter the code Nilanjan Dutta while subscribing. There's a space for the Nilanjan and Dutta in the code. And then you're done with all of these things. Make sure you're attending all the sessions live. Even though the video recording will be provided, it's important that you attend them live. You understand the concepts. You understand the shortcuts that have been talked about. Because if you remember this, if you look at the last couple of years of CAT, around 15 odd questions in each and every slot was solved by Unacademy Plus students using 30 seconds approaches. And that is where 15 questions out of 34 means already half the paper gets solved in 10 minutes. And when you can solve half the paper in 10 minutes, even the rest, half of the paper is lengthy in nature, you're going to be able to solve almost all the questions, which is why Unacademy Plus students find it so very easy to attempt at least 30 questions in CAT. So do make sure that all of you are being able to attempt at least 30 questions as far as CAT is concerned. When we talk of attempting at least 30 questions, it also means you should be able to take a chance with every 50-50 answer call, because remember, there's a +3, -1 scenario involved, which means the things are staked much more in your favor. So I'll pause for a moment here in case anybody has any questions. Somebody wondering how I managed to do so well smartly with the options and so on. The reasons are as simple as this. In CAT, every question that is framed takes at least 20 minutes to frame. But when it comes to options in Quants, what I usually do is they just put in random options, and maybe even sometimes the person who's setting the question doesn't even put the options. Somebody else, a personal secretary or somebody, looks at a solution and plants random options which are very similar to past paper options. The same is followed both in actual CAT as well as in your mocks. And that is where it's easier to make the most of it. And further, in areas like DI and LR, where question options are related to the same data set, it becomes even easier to exploit options to your advantage. And I said around 15 odd questions in each slot of Quants is being doable using the 30 seconds to 1 minute approaches, which suddenly makes your 1 hour journey of 60 minutes so much more simple, because you're done with 15 questions in around 10 to 12 minutes. You have 48 to 50 minutes for the rest 19, which is good enough time to attempt almost all of them, at least 17 of those 19, so that's a total of 32 questions. Remember this, if you're attempting at least 30 questions, let's say you're attempting 32 out of 34 questions, then automatically, even if you have an average accuracy rate, you can end up with a score of 70 plus in Quant, which is considered very, very good score. And for those of you looking at a perfect score in Quants, the only way you can do it is if you're attempting 30 plus questions in Quants. The next thing that comes up is, how do you go about doing a Quants mock analysis as to how you performed? The most important thing is you've got to take 2 mocks a week. And once you're taking 2 mocks a week across a spectrum of, let's say, like 7-8 months, so that would be around 30 weeks, so that is 60 mocks. So the moment you've taken 25 to 30 mocks, what will happen is you can go back to your dashboard. In your mock dashboard, you'll find areas which are marked in a particular fashion. How are they marked? You'll find column headers, out of which the most important metric is your return on time. So return on time is a metric which is defined as marks scored per minute. Ideally, for all Unacademy Plus students, we recommend having a mark per minute of at least greater than equal to 1 mark per minute. Why? Because if you're having 1 mark per minute on an average, that means at the end of it, you're ending up scoring greater than equal to 60 per section. Greater than 60 per section is 180 total score, which is definitely going to ensure you in the northwards of 99.5 plus. So 1 mark per minute is the minimum that you should be targeting being an Unacademy Plus student. So what you need to do is, when you look at your dashboard, look at each area. So let's say ratio proportions, triangles, PNC, logarithms, inequalities, and so on. So let's say there are 5 areas, a lot more areas actually in your paper. And let's say your target marks per minute is 1 mark per minute. So what you do is look at each individual area and see how you performed in each areas. And now if you end up finding one particular area where your marks per minute is much less compared to what your average marks per minute lies, it means this is that area which is your bottleneck. Either you're not able to score properly, or on a denominator front, you're ending up consuming too many minutes, because of which your net score is going down. So when it comes to your analysis of your marks dashboard, just look at your marks per minute section, your return on time section, and because that is going to incorporate everything: the number of attempts you made, your accuracy rate, the net marks you scored in an area, as well as the amount of time you take per question. Whichever are those areas where you find there's a bottleneck, for example, here in this topic, analysis of these 5 areas, it seems inequalities is your negative area. Whereas something like triangles is your positive area, because that is where you score very fast. So the moment what you understand this is your strong, moderate and weak areas, what you can do is you can attempt or experiment on your CAT strategy for attempting your mocks as well as the actual CAT in that fashion. Because remember, ultimately you get marks for scoring in your strong and moderate areas. So what you do is you attempt more and more questions from your strong and moderate areas. Also, if you noticed, the moment I talk about attempting 30 plus questions, that automatically means you're attempting almost all questions in CAT from 1 to 34, which automatically means you do not need to waste time in selecting questions. Just attempt all questions in a linear sequence. The only possible exception could be when attempting linear sequence, let's say you come across that one particular area where you have a very bad track record. So let's say that is inequalities. And when you attempt linear sequence, you find that question 5 is a question on inequalities. So what you might do is simply attempt 1, 2, 3, skip 4, do 5, 6, 7 and so on. Don't try looking at 4 hoping that it will be an easy moderate question. No. Irrespective of whether 4 is an easy moderate question, if there is a particular question from an area which across a spectrum of 20, 25 marks or maybe 60 marks is still being your weak area, it means you're not good at it. And given that you're attempting only around 30 odd questions, you can't afford to leave out 1 or 2 areas where your scores are very poor. And also remember, if you have historically across a spectrum of 30 to 40 marks done badly in a particular area or particular topic, it means you're not good at it. Even in CAT, you're very unlikely to be able to get it right. So rather focus on areas where you've been more confident, where you know that you have a good track record. It's always better to attempt a difficult triangles question where you have a very good track record compared to even an easy inequalities question where you have a terrible track record. So just keep attempting a linear sequence. Only if you encounter questions from 1 or 2 particular areas which are your weakest areas, you might skip them, complete the rest of all the questions. There would be around 50% questions, almost 45 to 50% questions, around 15 questions in each slot, which can be solved in the 30 seconds approach. Some might take up to 1 minute approach without doing by the conventional way. The conventional approach might be lengthy and may involve 4-5 minutes or even more, but when it comes to the minimum effort you need to answer that question, it would be only a 30 seconds to 1 minute exercise, and mastering that is probably the one most important thing that will differentiate you from those who will be getting a perfect score. So every year when I do this CAT analysis, what happens is some people in Quants, they keep talking about the cutoff should be very low in the 40s or 45 for 99 because the paper was very lengthy and so on. Whereas I find whenever I take these free sessions, I find there's a second group of people, though that is the Unacademy Plus students, who talk about the cutoff should be in the 70-75 minimum zone because the paper was solvable, mostly 15 odd questions in 30 seconds. And that is what the difference in perception between the two segments of CAT aspirants can be. One segment believes the cutoff for 99 is 40-45, the other half those who got access to these kind of approaches, they start believing the cutoff should be 70, 75. And in fact, I need to explain to them that the cutoff cannot be that high, because even though they had the luxury of these approaches, the rest, 99% of the CAT aspirants did not have that access to these shortcuts and approaches. But this time, I do not want any more excuses from students. This time I want every student who's appearing for CAT, who's still appearing for CAT, to get access to this 70-75 marks minimum slab. And which is why I made sure that this time we have the perfect score batch lined up. The first time ever we are having the perfect score batch on Unacademy Plus, just to ensure that people who've got the perfect score in previous years in CAT, like the 100 percentilers, are doing something to ensure that every serious CAT aspirant gets themselves a shot at the perfect score. So all you need to do is go to unacademy.com/plus and subscribe today for either the 12-month or the 24-month subscription plan. Use the code Nilanjan Dutta while subscribing. Be a current percentiler to get automatically added to the perfect score batch. You have to use the code this Nilanjan Dutta while subscribing. There's a space for Nilanjan and Dutta while subscribing. So do subscribe immediately so that you do not miss out any further sessions. So make sure that all of you are identifying your strong and scoring areas, focusing on those areas, and remember this, return on time, that is mark per minute, is that all important metric that you need to focus upon. Try and ensure that you're taking 2 mocks a week, so that will be 60 mocks almost by CAT. But after every mock, you're doing what is called needed a thorough analysis of the mock. Maybe you wasted a lot of time in a particular question which could have been solved in 30 seconds. It's very important that you understand what approach you could have taken differently, so that next time a similar question comes up, you do not goof up again. Remember, every mock is a 3-hour ordeal, whereas analysis is always a 6-hour ordeal. And that is what is very important thing that you need to do to get towards the dream percentile that most of you are harboring. So these are the things that is recommended all of you keep in mind. So any questions, anybody else, before we wrap up today's session? So all those who are planning to subscribe, subscribe or anything, make sure that you're doing that immediately to Unacademy Plus. Make sure you're adding yourself using the discount code Nilanjan Dutta while subscribing, so you automatically get added to the perfect score batch, along with all the other courses that are crucial for your dream percentile. Remember, we've just been 1 week we've started, and it's going to be an 8-month long course, so do not delay any further. Immediately go for the 12-month or the 24-month subscription. The 24-month subscription, as you can see, is available at a throwaway price. So go for that. And further, if you're using the discount code Nilanjan while subscribing, you're also getting it at an even cheaper price, besides getting yourself added to this all-important perfect score batch for CAT 2020. So this is where you go. You select the subscription plan, 12-month or the 24-month plan. Here in the referral code section, you enter your code Nilanjan Dutta. There's no space for Nilanjan and Dutta. You click on apply. It'll say apply successfully, and then the price will reduce. Remember, there's no space for Nilanjan and Dutta in the discount code. On that note, thank you everybody and happy learning. Hope to see all of you in the perfect score batch live classes.